Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about the 5 tricks that you can do to improve your sax playing more than you have in the last year. So let's go! Number 1 is sling. You need your sling to be set up at the right height, and I know this sounds really basic, but it's hugely important. It's the first thing you do when you get your sax out your case, put your sling on and put your sax on your sling. So let's talk about how it can make a difference and what you need to do to make it improve your sax playing. So let's talk about slings and sling heights. I do not like a bouncy sling. If your sling has got flex in the top, get rid of it and get one that's more strong and steady. I use a Rico sling because it doesn't move very much once I've got it set up, and I like to have an actual catch that puts my saxophone on it so it doesn't slip off a little hook. So I'm really uptight about my slings because I do a lot of moving when I play. But number 1, don't have a bouncy sling. Now we have to figure out where the sling needs to be in relation to our posture and our position. Let's go. So we want our sling height to help us, not hinder us. So what do I mean by that? When you're playing the sax, you want the easiest stream of air to come through to your saxophone. You want the air that is hitting your reed and hitting your mouthpiece. You want to be the cleanest, least interrupted air that you can possibly have. So how do we help that with the sling? If we put the sling too high, like this, then it pushes the saxophone downwards in our mouth. Like that. A lot of classical players use a slightly higher position in their mouth because it gives them a nice evenness of tone and it helps you to hit the bottom notes. But it does create a slightly thinner tone and also a bit of tension because you're holding your neck too high. So you don't want to go too high and you don't want to be like this, looking upwards. You hear how the sound sounds thinner? And now you also don't want to be down here. Now I know all the cool kids play the sax right down low because it looks cool, but actually number 1 gives you double chins. Number 2 really interrupts that airflow because it cuts it off. So if you hear the difference, it's very thin. Like that. So what we want to achieve is almost a right angle. We want to feel really nice and relaxed and we want the sax to come to us. So make sure that your sax comes straight to your mouth if it falls backward. You want to be looking forward so that the air can come straight through, a nice uninterrupted airflow. So how I do that is I sit up straight, how I would be sitting with good posture, and bring the sax to my mouth. Like that. Another thing you can do to check it is put the sax out at full extension on the sling, put it to the side, bring it back up, and if it falls to your mouth, you've got it in the right position. And you'll hear that it makes the tone more rich and it makes the airflow less interrupted, which makes for a far better sound. And it also means that you can control your saxophone a lot easier and you get a nice even tone. So that is trick number 1. Make sure your sling is helping you, not hindering you, and that you have nice, easy airflow and that your sax comes to your mouth. You're not pulling down. You're not looking up. It's perfect. Sling, number 1 trick. The dogs have also come to join us. Pippin. Shh. Number 2, your reeds and setup. Now another thing that sounds super simple, but if you make sure you have the right reed for your mouthpiece and for your level of playing and for your sax, then it's going to make your life so much easier. What do the different strengths and models of reeds really mean? The softer the reed, the easier it's going to be to blow your saxophone. So you'll have less resistance. So what that does is it makes it easier to manipulate your notes, makes it easier to blow, and means that if you're in an earlier stage of learning, it's going to make it a lot easier for you to blow your saxophone. The harder the reed, the more consistent your sound's going to be, but it's going to be harder to blow. It's got a lot more resistance, and the reed just vibrates less easily, so you're not going to be able to make a sound as easy. So start with a softer reed, around a 2, a 1.5 or a 2, and build up and see if you like the consistency of a stronger reed. I'm on a jazz metal mouthpiece that's quite aggressive. So for me, I go for softer reeds so that I can manipulate my sound a lot easier. But you do need more embouchure control to make sure that your notes are in tune if you go for a softer reed. But it's a great starting point. Also, what do I mean by setup? What I mean by setup is making sure your reed's on straight. Sounds really stupid, right? But it's really, really important. If your reed is off at an angle, then it's not going to vibrate very well. So you want to have your reed set up straight on your mouthpiece and with a slight little bit of mouthpiece showing at the top. That will mean that your reed is vibrating perfectly and is giving you the least problems. So make sure your reed is on straight and make sure it is on with a little bit of mouthpiece at the top. Your ligature should be going underneath the curved portion of your reed, and that'll mean that it won't restrict your reeds vibrating as well. Reed on straight, little bit of mouthpiece at the top, ignore that mine is dented, and your ligature, which is this bit, should be underneath that section of the reed, on the thicker bit of the reed, which allows your reed to vibrate. So number 2 was reeds. So go a little bit softer. It will make it easier for you to make a noise, and then build up as your embouchure strength builds up. And then make sure your reed is on straight, little bit of mouthpiece shown at the top, and your ligature is underneath the curved bit. Okay, number 3. Number 3 seems super simple, but it's so important. It is posture. Make sure your posture is good. If you are hunched over, if you are overextended, number 1, you are going to damage your body. Number 2, you are going to restrict your airflow. And what we've learned from point number 1 is that airflow is the most important thing when you're playing saxophone. So let's do a bit of posture. I'm going to do sitting posture. If you're standing, you want nice soft knees and you want as little tension in your body as possible. I learned about posture in sax lessons, but also in Alexander technique. So if you want to look that up, it's a technique of how you should have your posture. Lots of musicians use it so that they can control their posture and not get injuries. So what do we want? What I want you to do first is put yourself straight, or where you think is straight, with your sax on your neck. And then I want you to lift your shoulders really tense and then release them. Lift them really tense and then release them. We want them to be nice and relaxed and to not hold any tension there. And we've already talked about sling height. That comes into posture because we want a nice straight posture. We want our shoulders to be perpendicular, so nice and balanced. And we want our back to be straight and to be relaxed. So let's have a look at our posture. I'm doing a sitting posture. So I want to put a little bit of the weight on the perch on my bum. That sounds really ridiculous, doesn't it? But you want to make sure that you can move backwards and forwards. So don't sit into your chair. Perch on your bum. You want your legs to be relaxed. And you want yourself to be straight so that your air can come straight from your diaphragm. You can control your abdomen and support your air, and then that can push through. I don't want to be hunched over. I don't want to be pushing outwards. I want to be nice and straight, and you'll find that your sax sound is richer and more supported. So this is me sitting nice and straight. Sling up to your mouth, like we practiced before. And now shoulders relaxed and straight. Now I'm going to do hunched over. It's a lot less rich and a lot less supported. You see a lot of school band kids sitting like this. And a lot of jazzers. And now we're going to do overextended this way. Which just sounds really strange because you have strain on your throat. So, posture. Super, super important. And we have to make sure that we're sitting straight, shoulders are balanced. Make them tense and relax them. Do the same with your hands. Your hands need to be nice and relaxed and not tense. So make sure you're relaxed, you're straight, and that will help with your supported air, and it'll help you to feel not tense, and it'll help your sound to not be tense. So that is super important. Number 3 is posture. Tip number 4 is air. Air support and air direction. I've put them in the same one because they're pretty much the same thing. So air support, we've already been talking loads about it when we've talked about sling height and when we've talked about posture. Air support and air direction and air speed is the most important thing to make your sax sound like a pro. So you want to be making sure that you're sitting in a way so that you can breathe really deeply and then you can blow into your sax. So how I learned to do air support, it's really confusing because people always say, use your diaphragm, use your diaphragm. And it makes no sense to me when I first learned about it because number one, you don't have any nerve endings on your diaphragm. You don't know how it feels. Number two, that means you can't control it. Now, some people might be saying, what on earth's your diaphragm? It's a big muscle at the bottom of your abdomen. When you breathe in, it flattens down. When you breathe out, it raises up. So if we can get the diaphragm down as low as possible, we can take in as much air as possible. And then if we can find a way to control how it goes up, then it means we can control the speed that our air leaves our abdomen. Sounds like a biology lesson, but really it makes a huge difference. Here's a little diagram of the diaphragm and what it does when you breathe in and what it does when you breathe out. How can we control a diaphragm if we can't feel it, we can't see it, we can't actually control it? We control it with our abdomen. So when I breathe in, I have to think not to breathe in from here. So do a breath from here. You'll see it feels very tight. I breathe in from down here. So, and then you can tense your stomach muscles. And that controls your diaphragm and how quickly your diaphragm pops back up. So if I breathe from here, then I have far less control. I feel like I'm hyperventilating and I'm not getting as good a breath. So I'm breathing in from down here. And then it feels like I'm breathing in a nice, deep, warm breath. And then I can control my breath a lot easier. And that's what people mean when they talk about supported breath and use your diaphragm. It's breathing right in down to your belly. And then it's also holding it and then controlling your air push out with your abdomen muscles. So when we talk about air support, that's what we mean. We need to take a big, deep breath, hold it in, push it out. When I talk about air direction, we're trying to think about how we blow it out. So if you hold your hand out in front of you like this, you want to try and aim your air high to touch the tip of your finger. You want to aim it to this bit here, and you want to aim it down here. You need to be thinking about trying to do that. Now, when I'm playing the saxophone, I generally blow it down here because it helps the air get all the way down to the bottom of the saxophone. That's what I try and visualize when I'm blowing my air. So let's have a listen to how that makes a difference. This is me blowing air upwards. It makes my bottom lip a bit too tense and a bit too bitey, and it makes the sound thinner and tighter. Now I'm going to blow my air straight out to this bit of my hand. Still a bit thin, and I can't quite make those bottom notes nice and rich. Now I'm going to blow downwards to the bottom of my saxophone, so as if I was blowing to the bottom of my hand. It's a lot richer, it's a lot easier to control, and it makes the bottom notes richer and easier, and the whole saxophone is so much easier when you do that. So tip number 4 is air support and air direction, kind of all in the same thing. Tip number 5, have fun. You're learning your instrument because either you love music or you really want to get better at something because you enjoy it. My favourite way to get better is by doing something that I enjoy. So find the music that you enjoy and practice that. If you really love jazz, transcribe some jazz solos that you love and try and play them. The only way to learn is to do it and to have fun while you're doing it. So I always loved dance music. I used to learn all the dance solos while I was at classical music college. But I also loved classical. I loved contemporary music. So absorb yourself in the music that you love because you'll learn better that way. Have a listen to other sax players who play in that style and try and imitate them. It's the only way you're going to do it. Sax is like a voice and you have to try and vocalize it and make it your own sound. The only way to do that is to copy, imitate, and then develop into your own sax player. So tip number 5, although it sounds really basic, is have fun. Hope these tips helped you guys. Hit like and subscribe and drop any comments if you have any questions. Keep an eye on the channel because we're going to be doing lots of little tips and little tricks as to how to get your sax sound better. So subscribe to get your sax sound better with me, and I will see you guys soon.